and interest that you have in issues concerning children. So let me use this opportunity to say thank you for the support. I feel like I'm FIFA president. I only see some of these things around it, so I would just want to appreciate. We all know why we invited you here, as per the invitation. Basically, for us to look at what happened on Friday and some concerns that we want to address. And we feel that there are certain things that we need to let you understand. Country, we are committed to global standards observed, and to address the main issue. I want to say that there's no doubt that we've come to a level where we cannot allow children to be on the street. And it's a long overdue exercise. And we feel that for the state to take that step is in order for us to do things that would also protect the interests of children, whatever the intentions are, whether it is reasons of national security, whether it is reasons of social protection, or any other reason assigned to it. Whatever it is, it's long overdue for us to see our children on the street. And indeed, within our legislations, for instance, you look at the Beggars and Destitute Act, it states clearly what we need to do in such instance, where people who engage children to beg on the street or when children are on the street, the steps that we need to take. And for us, we think that it is important for this exercise to be taken. And the reasons are that when you have children on the street, there are three things that if care is not taken, we would encounter as a country. One has to do with a social disorder. Because when you begin to raise children on the street, you should expect a certain behavior that they would acquire and how that behavior would also affect the productivity of this country. Again, it's also an issue of social national security. So clearly, there are issues that the state must be concerned about, looking at the environment that we find ourselves in and the security issues that are around us. Again, we also look at issues of if we don't take steps to address the issue, then it means that we are going to burden our social safety net. Already, we know how weak our social safety net is. So if we don't take some of these steps, it means that we're going to burden our social safety net. And the reason for saying this is because if you look at the economic cost to this country per annum, the state spends almost 926 million to 1.4 billion every year in protecting children, especially when children go through abuse. So if you look at all this, we cannot come to any conclusion that there's a need for us to take these steps to win children from the streets and then give them a better life. As much as we think that this exercise is important, we also showing concern about the approach and the institutions that are leading the charge in dealing with this matter. And once you get Ghana Immigration Service, then the intention be that they are UN Convention on the Right of the Child. It clearly states what you need to do. If you look at the Article 2.2, it gives you a direction as to what the state needs to do. You look at the Article 3, and then you look at the Article 11. This speaks in context of the discussion that we are having. So even if you want to consider an option of repatriating them back to their country, then the state must follow a certain procedure. First, you need to do your own assessment. Second, you also have to have a bilateral arrangement with the respective countries that these children are coming from. And you have to declare the capacity of these countries to know whether they will be able to handle these children. And if they cannot, the states need to find another alternative, either to give them a refugee status or to give them asylum, so that you integrate them into our country and give them the kind of treatment that they deserve. Because for us to accept the UN Convention on the Right of the Child and domesticate it, the intention of the state is to ensure that everything that concerns children, whether you are a citizen or not, you stand to benefit from any social intervention that the state would implement. So we expect that these steps will also be followed. Then again, you look at the Section 18 of the Children's Act, which also talks about the issues of those who need care and protection. And this, in this context, it gives the responsibility to social welfare department, whether they belong to the assembly or they belong to the national social welfare department or gender and social protection. The state is saying that when it comes to children who need social protection or they need care and protection, the mandate is on the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection and the social welfare to provide care for such people. But what we have seen so far, we don't have any indication whatsoever regarding how these institutions are participating in the process to ensure that they give them the kind of care and protection that they need. Again, even if you want to look at it from the refugee point of view and how they were rescued and where they were kept, technically you have declared them as illegal immigrants, or what they call the prohibited immigrant. And in our legislation, you cannot describe a child as a prohibited immigrant. So for that matter, you need to give a certain protection to them. So you cannot say that they are in the company of their parents, so you give them the treatment as you give to their parent. You need to give them special treatment, and this is where we think that things do not go as expected. So it is in the interest of the nation to ensure that we follow certain procedure in dealing with this particular matter, because the act, whether it is intentional or the state is not intentional about it, the result is showing that we are dealing with these children as illegal immigrants or prohibited immigrants. And this is the case where our legislation do not support or give any affirmation to the conduct of the institution that is mandated to carry out this exercise. So, looking at all this, we are asking whether Ghana Immigration Service do have the capacity to deal with all the pillars in terms of the care that needs to be provided for these children. They are trained to deal with issues of immigration, but I don't know whether Immigration Service is also a social welfare provider, or they can look at issues of security where we think that the Ghana Police Service is better positioned to deal with this matter than Ghana Immigration Service. So we have not seen anything of the sort. Again, we've not had any communication in respect to how they carried out the evacuation and the kind of care system that they are giving to them after the post operation. We've not also seen any protocol being established by the state to determine how they want to handle this particular matter, and whether or not the state has engaged in any bilateral engagement with the respective countries where these children are coming from. And that would help us to understand what the state is doing within the country, and then also the discussion that they are having with the countries where these children are coming from. Because at the end of the day, we need to render accountability in the process, and for us to also tell the international community how we are handling matters of this nature. You know, when you go to other countries, because they don't want to commit themselves to some of these protocols, sometimes when they are faced with some of these difficulties, they do not even allow immigrants to enter their country, because once they enter the country, they have an obligation to provide care for the children. So sometimes they want to prevent that situation, but in our case, it's not so. We have made our borders porous. We've allowed them to come in, travel all the way from, some are coming from the northern sector, some too from the Appiah area, some too from Rara area, and even from Bongahafo area. And they enter this country and they get a place to sleep. They get to wake up in the morning. Buses will pick them to respective traffic lights to carry out that activity. And at the end of the day, they go back to render account to whoever is engaging them in that process. So it means that technically, we've decided that we want these children to be here. And if they are here, whether by their own choices or somebody compel them to be here, the state is an obligation to provide the care that is needed. So for us as an organization, we think that certain processes must be followed. And since this is not the first time we are seeing this kind of repatriation that the state intended to do, we've seen it before in 2022, and in 2015, the government also attempted to do something of that nature. And then we are now seeing it now. At every stage, you see the actors, different actors participating in the process. You know, initially it was the joint effort between the Ghana Police. Initially, Ghana Police Service decided to do the exercise, and then when they did that, they handed it over to social welfare, and the social welfare could not also get the resources to be able to give them the support that they need, so they went back to the streets. Then Immigration Service again with the Ghana Police Service decided to rescue these children and send them back to their respective countries, and they came back. And this is also another regime that we are in, where we are seeing this kind of exercise taking place. So clearly, we think that since this is not the first time, there are certain engagement that must go on so that we don't see it again. And what we are saying is that yes, one of the key things that we need to do is to engage in this bilateral discussion with the respective countries that they are coming from after you've done a comprehensive assessment. And doing this assessment, we are recommending that the state must take steps to take every single biodata of these persons that have been rescued, so that if Ghana Immigration Service want to know and strengthen the borders, they'll be able to know who can come in and who cannot come in, and when they were here, what activity were they engaging. So the biodata information of all these people are needed. And the children too, you need to also make sure that you take biodata, because we cannot assume that every child that is being used to beg on the streets is those who brought them are biological parents of these children. So we need to do all these things, and to even to some extent do a DNA to find out whether they are associated with all these parents. Because at the end of the day, your interest as a country is to see how well you can give protection to the children. And if you don't do some of these things, it will be difficult for you as a country to be able to determine whether these are traffickers or they are the biological parents of these children that you have rescued. Again, we are saying that there must be a detailed documentation on the needs, or more or less like carry out the needs assessment on all these children and see whether they are in certain conditions that the state should be able to reverse. They will need some health care, or they will need some kind of social services, so that the state will be able to handle it. And then also, one key thing that we are also interested in is how, as a country, we can enhance our border and then how these people enter in and go out at ease. So there's a need for us to strengthen our borders to ensure that we protect these children, because it is important for us to also know that it's not every person who carries a child that you can easily assume that the child is belongs to the person. So there must be also some kind of vigorous assessment of people, either at the borders, be it by road or through our airports or by sea. We should be able to have a clear cut as to what we want to do. And finally, we want to send a signal to the state that we are interested in how we're going to repatriate these children. And we are also interested in how the state is going to protect these children. And if we feel otherwise, we think that within our immigration laws, there are issues that we can also petition at the appropriate forum to seek for a redress for these children, so that we do things in a manner that will always protect the best interest of children. So basically, this is what we feel about the matter, and then the recommendation that we've given. And if things are not going the way it's expected, we may resort to other platforms or forums to address issues related to how we handle children, whether they are Ghanaians or they are foreigners. So thank you. So question time. Yes.
My name is from TV Africa.
Okay.
My question has to do with I know child rights is concerned about children issues. I don't know whether the organization or your outfit is able to find out the parent of these people, how they were able to get in. People are from Niger, Burkina Faso, and other countries to come here, and I don't know other organizations are also able to find out where they are staying. The people who are in charge of these children.
Well, because we're interested in what is happening on the street, we carried out a research and a documentary. So we did some kind of a tracer study, and it was even led by my colleague here. And clearly, it is more like an organized crime against children, because they bring them in and they know the rules. And the rules are created in such a way that somebody knows somebody in Burkina Faso, somebody knows somebody in Nigeria, somebody knows somebody in Niger, Togo, and even Ivory Coast. So there's some kind of a linkage, and they use those routes to bring the children in. And let me also put on record that when we did the research, we realized that some of the children were in school in their respective countries. And sometimes they come in to beg during their vacations, and then they go back. So if you have really studied this case, you realize that certain periods or certain times, you realize that the number of children on the street reduces, and certain times you see that the number goes up. So it's no matter how you look at it, it's a deliberate attempt by people to feel that Ghana is a comfortable country, so they can carry out any activity at all that they want. That is what is bringing some of these issues that we are experiencing. Then again, not all the children who come belong to the parents. They come with other children, because it is more or less like a cartel business that people are involved in. So they get new children, they come in. But the difficulty, and where we were finding very difficult to investigate, had to do with the issue of how they were able to enter the country. Whether there's some kind of arrangement with whosoever, because we all know that the same Ghana Immigration Service rescuing these children are the same people who are managing our yes. So clearly, you wonder, the same institution allows them to come in, and then the same institution will behave as if they want to repatriate them back. Sometimes you think about it and you wonder what exactly we want. And the roots are there, and it's not like we don't know, because I had the opportunity to chair a committee established by cabinet to look at drug issues in this country, and clearly we know the roots, and I'm sure national security knows the roots, and if we really want to do something about it, we should be able to address some of these issues. Yes, Chief. Then
you made mention of the fact that government spend a lot of money taking care of
yes.
Can you give us more clarity on how this money has been spent and what exactly do they do?
Well, you see, look, there is economic cost to child abuse cases. And in child abuse cases, we have the direct cost, we have the indirect, and then we have the long life cost that comes with it. So if a child goes, wants to serve rehabilitation and maintenance, it goes through these three processes. So for example, you talk about the direct cost, like the rescue that is done, provide feeding, medical care, and other things to these children. They are all costs. And then there are indirect costs, like institutions to do this, like the media, we are talking about it. The media is spending a lot of money, giving the airtime to talk about it. If there's engagement with social welfare, there's engagement with the police, there's engagement with the immigration service, there's an engagement with the respective countries. All these things are costs that the state must bear. Then again, you look at the lifetime cost, where you have to put the child under rehabilitation program. And that is so expensive to the extent that you can need the least time that you can even carry out rehabilitation program on any abused child is 2 years at least, and the maximum can be 15 years. So all these processes, when you want to incur costs, those were the accumulations that the Department of Children research that they did, and then they peg it at 926 million up to 1.4 billion a year in rehabilitation in Ghana cities, not dollars, Ghana cities, a year to rehabilitate a child abuse cases in this country. So it's clear that this is not an option that we have to choose. So you can imagine this is a standard cost. So when you see there's more increase in terms of abuse cases against children, then there's also indication that the cost will go high. So I'm just using the standard cost when it comes to addressing issues on children, but it can even be more than that. Let me pick somebody and then I'll come to you.
Okay.
Yes.
In your delivery, you made mention of doing some kind of research to find out how these people come in. And you also made mention of it's like an organized crime. So did you share your findings with the authorities? That is one. Number two, we know that they don't come themselves. They are brought in by some surrogates. And these people should have been our target, because when you stop them, the people will not come in. So my question is, what was your recommendation to the state in order to stop these people so that you will not get these children coming in? Thank you.
Yes, I think the easiest way out is to stop them from coming. That's the easiest way out. But we've not been able to do that. And once they are here, the story is different, especially where children are involved. And as we said, we did this research, we submitted it to the government. And to the extent that on the basis of this research, we went to the Supreme Court. Because at the point, we realized that there is no precedent on matters that relate to children on the street. So we decided to go to court to invoke the policy-making authority of the Supreme Court to make certain pronouncements that will compel the state to take certain actions in a manner that would be procedural. But again, we didn't get that opportunity. We didn't get how we wanted. The Supreme Court also shared their opinion differently. But that was the essence of we going to go on the basis of the research, because sometimes when you do research, you send it to government, it will take you years for them to even respond, for them to even take action on it. But looking at how children were growing, the numbers keep increasing, we decided to go to the Supreme Court, so that when the Supreme Court makes judgment, it becomes a law. For that matter, the state will be compelled to take certain action, in order for us to safeguard these children. Because if we are always using the ad hoc approach in dealing with these issues, I don't think that will help us. So the research helped us to get enough information to go to court, and then we have also submitted, but we have not given up yet. The Supreme Court has given direction as to where we can start the case, and we are in the process of doing that. So one of the outcomes of our research that we did, we gave us empirical evidence as to the issues that are happening on our street. So it was good we did that, and we are hoping that those who have ears should listen. Yes.
What will be the next move? Should government do to take demands that child rights is proposed?
Yeah, what we are saying that there are laws that govern our immigration system, and then there are certain procedures that must also be followed, especially when children are involved. So as I've said, we are monitoring the situation, how the state will behave, how the state will conduct itself in relation to this particular matter. And if we feel that in the process there has been certain abuse or a breach of the protocols, we will resort to the appropriate forum, to address this matter, so that we can still guarantee the safety of these children, and yet the best interest that has been described in our law will also be, will uphold that position. So that is what we want to do. Are you okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, let me bring this, and then please come to you. Yes.
In your findings, when you chair the committee, you did come to bear that most of our security personnel at the borders connive with these syndicates to allow these people in, because as a security personnel, whenever people are coming in, especially kids, definitely you have to question. Did we come to bear that some of these security officers connive with these syndicates?
The follow-up question. Can you see Ghana Immigration Service has failed as a nation with regards to this issue? Because this is not the first time we are hearing this matter. Over the years, every year we keep on hearing this issue. So can you blame Ghana Immigration Service on this particular matter?
Well, from there, then I'll add yours to it. The committee, I only chair the committee as a chairman of that committee, and it was a cabinet committee. Therefore, they've not given me any license to give you the details of what that report entails. So it will be a breach of the oath that I sworn to give you what the outcome of that report was. I'm sure at the appropriate time, government should be able to make that document public. So I'm sorry, I cannot say whatever I saw. Okay?
What you just said, there was something of sorts.
I don't know. I don't know. And I cannot give you that position that something went wrong. I'm sure when government publishes a report, you will know the content. Okay? All right. Chief.
Thank you.
No, you see, I'm not here to play that blame game. The issue at hand is about children, and we need a collective effort to deal with it. So that is where my interest is. So whether children, somebody needs to be blamed with, but you can. Sometimes but you want me to tell you that so that you can say you can reference me as a. But this time, sorry, I don't know. All right, Chief.
Yes, thank you. I am someone from CTF.
Okay.
You did indicate that there is no information from Ghana Immigration Service as to what has happened to the people. That's correct. And we know that data is very important in this whole endeavor. Particularly for me, I went there to follow up on the story. On Saturday, I was denied access to where they are, how many people have been repatriated. That information also, I was not given. Is it a worrying, trend, or is it a worrying situation that these children have been picked up off the streets? You send them to a particular location, you are not giving us the data or informing the public as to what is happening to them. How many people have been sent back to their country? This is a worrying trend, and how do we...
Of course, it's a worrying trend. It's a violation of their rights. And since we are dealing with people who are foreigners, there should be some kind of accountability in the process. And especially when children are involved. Even if they are adults, you know how the Gitmo people entered this country. There was a clear-cut communication as to how Ghana is going to receive these two people into the country and how the state is going to manage them. So, and we have not even subscribed any kind of criminality against these people. So you expect that, and some of them, when you listen to, when you did the research, you realize that a lot of them came in because of social needs. So if you really want to deal with the matter, you have to deal with it in a manner that would also promote their human rights values. And we expect that some of these accountability must be given to us. You cannot just keep people without telling us what they are going through. That is why we are saying that with a few days ahead of us, if we don't hear anything from them, we need to resort to other forums to make sure that we follow certain procedure to make sure that their safety is guaranteed, because they are human beings and children. The law says that in all things, whether you are an institution, you are an individual, whatsoever, whoever you are, you must always protect the best interest of children. And that best interest concerns all of us. And we have to know what is happening to them and the steps that we are taking to either whether we want to repatriate them, we want to give them refugee status, or we want to give them asylum. So these are things that we need to know.
These individuals came from particular countries, right?
That is what they're saying.
Yes. How we handle the situation might affect our bilateral relations. Is that correct?
Yes, of course. This is an international relations matter. And you see, children even makes it worse in the sense that there's a global meeting that established the UN Convention on the Right of the Child. And when you look at Article 11 of the UN Convention on the Right of the Child, it states clearly what we need to do in matters of this nature. So if you don't handle it properly, it affects that relation that we have with the UN. It will also affect the regional integration that we all want to promote. So it is not an issue that we should just take it for granted that we have rescued children from the streets, and for that matter, it settles everything. No. There are further things that we need to do to ensure that their welfare are protected.
Xavier,
Yes.
you keep saying we resort to other forum. What at all is that forum that?
Yeah, I use the word forum because we can determine the forum. And it's not always the case that when we say forum, it's only the court or that's what we want to hear. But I would say there are different forums that we can, especially we live in the regional. We have a regional body that we belong to. We have a global body that we belong to, and we also have the court. So there are other areas that we can pursue this matter. So I don't want to just jump it. By studying the situation, we will determine which forum we should go.
Okay, so you went to Supreme Court because you wanted the kids to be out of the street, right?
Yes.
For their protection.
Yeah.
Supreme Court dismissed the case, citing jurisdiction.
Yes.
Now government has taken the steps to get the children off the street.
Yes.
Is you worried about getting them off the street or the state in which they are being kept?
You see, when you look at my statement, I made it clear that for us to have children on the street, legally and morally, is wrong. So there's no need for us to have them on the street. And if you go into court, it's also get children from the street in a manner that follows procedure. That is the operating word. We want to follow a certain procedure so that we don't use the rascal means of rescuing these children. So that is the distinction. So there's no way we support the existence of children on the street. Not at all. We don't support that. So we just want to ensure that we follow procedure. So the fact that we want children to be out of the street do not mean that we should handle it anyhow. We should still follow protocol. Yes, last one.
My name is Banakina.
Yes, sir.
Or party. I want to find out, are you okay with the children, the way they are begging something, roaming about?
If I'm okay, I wouldn't have invited you. I'm not okay at all. If I'm okay, I won't go to the Supreme Court. And you see, at the appropriate time, we will also look at the decision of the Supreme Court. Yes, they dismissed the case, but when you read the judgment, it clearly gives you an indication that even Supreme Court itself is worried and interested in this matter. What they are worried about is the fact that, one, we don't have judicial precedence on the matter that is submitted to them. And for that matter, most of the cases that we relied on were foreign cases. And they also need to understand the procedure. So if you look at Professor Mensah-Busu's position on this matter, she made it clear that in most of the trials on matters of this nature, it started from the High Court before it came to the Supreme Court. So even if we want to follow precedents, then we should also initiate some of these actions from the appropriate forum. And if you also look at the judgment of Justice Kwama, he nailed it. So the issue was displaced all right on the basis of capacity and jurisdiction, but the substantive matter, they've determined that, and that for me is where our interest should be, that as a country, we all agree that having children to beg on the streets is unlawful, and we need to take action to deal with it. So sometimes when I hear the case has been dismissed, blah, blah, and all that, I get a bit worried, because when you read the judgment, you know that clearly they hold the view that we hold, but technically they cannot take any decision on the matter. Yeah.